California, and that's fine. But this is the way we do things in Iowa, and there's a great need for it. Anyway, Representative Mike Sexton and Ann Meyer, I would like your comments on the defeat of Steve King.
Well, and as most people know, I endorse Steve King. I've known Steve since he and I served in the Senate. We were good friends, and Steve, in my opinion, was a good congressman, and I just, Steve was a lot like our president. I mean, he said it like it was, and he didn't candy coat anything, and that got him in trouble. I don't know. I think we've become a society that everybody's feelings get hurt so easy, and Steve, you can look and see what Steve said, and you can take it out of context, but Steve King was a very religious man, and he wasn't a racist, and he wasn't all of those things that people said about him. I feel like he's dead because Representative Meyer just said he's not dead.
No, I think he's still got something to contribute. He's still a vigorous man.
Yeah. So, Senator Veenstra's our candidate now. So we, like all primaries, we decide who we want to be on the ticket, and it's Senator Veenstra. And so now, people have asked me, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, Senator Veenstra's my candidate now for Congress. So that's where I'm at.
And that's the end of that, yeah. Ann, what do you think? Steve King got beat?
Yeah.
And Steve King was good for our area, I'll tell you. Webster County, the entire district. I mean, Calhoun County. He was great for our area.
And I'm thankful for all the years he put in. I've met him several times. He's a very reasonable, down-to-earth person. And I'm thankful for all of his years of service and all that he's done for our community. I will be supporting, now Senator Veenstra, but the candidate Randy Veenstra, and I'm confident that he'll hold our seat in the 4th District.
All right, Representative Ann Meyer has been our guest. Representative Mike Sexton has been our guest. They've been talking to us from Des Moines. Folks, great to talk to you. Hope to see you soon.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Yep. Talk to you later.
This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
It's 2:31. The news is next.
How do you play Mega Millions?
I like to be the first person in line when the convenience store opens, which is hard to do if they're open 24/7, but I enter the store on my right foot, take exactly 7 steps to the counter, always 7, and take the ticket with my left hand. Then I high-five the cashier. Sometimes they leave me hanging.
However you play, play now.
This Friday's estimated Iowa Lottery Mega Millions jackpot is $378 million.
Woohoo!
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent, like Prudential and Mutual of Omaha, and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-589-5599. That's 800-589-5599. 800-589-5599. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all
Your
states.
news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A protest is scheduled to take place at Storm Lake tonight in memory of George Floyd, the Minneapolis man who was killed at the hands of police. The protest is scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight, and Storm Lake Police Chief Chris Cole says that he has spoken with organizers of the protest and is hopeful that the protests will remain peaceful. Storm Lake's mayor expressed his concerns about large groups of people getting together because of the increase in COVID-19 cases around the Storm Lake area in Buena Vista County. The mayor did say that safety measures to decrease the chance of spread of the virus will be in place and that the organizers of the protest are aware of needed social distancing. Sadie Trueblood and Stacy Kraft from the Webster County Public Health Department were guests on Dodger Weekly on KVFD-AM 1400. During their appearance, they talked about various things related to the health department. Here's Stacy Kraft on how it's been the last couple of months to deal with COVID-19.
It's been a little crazy, but Webster County residents and really Iowans in general have been great to work with and following the governor's mandates. Never in my nursing career has this ever obviously happened, so it's been a good learning experience too.
Another recent happening with the Webster County Public Health Department is the change in location for their family planning clinic. Sadie Trueblood explains the move.
So we had been at our previous location for a couple of years, and we found an opportunity to move a little bit closer to our main office at 310 2nd Avenue South. And we opened officially here at the beginning of the month.
Sadie went on to say that even with the pandemic going on, they are seeing patients at their family planning clinic.
So we're seeing patients. Obviously, we screen a little bit differently now with COVID in the community. So these are all medically necessary appointments. Anything that we can put off, we are just until things start to calm down a little bit. So when somebody calls to schedule an appointment, we do some pre-screening questions. But yeah, we are taking appointments. We do a full day on Wednesdays for scheduling and then half a day on Friday.
To schedule an appointment or for more information, call 515-573-4107. Authorities have arrested a man on multiple charges connected to the February 4th fire that heavily damaged a Waterloo bowling alley. Radio Iowa's Elwin Huffman has more.
Officials believe 29-year-old Kevin Cruz Salaveras was one of several people who forced their way into Maple Lane's bowling center and set the fire after stealing money from vending machines, video games, and an ATM. Police say an overnight maintenance worker was also robbed of his wallet. Cruz is charged with first-degree arson, second-degree robbery, and second-degree burglary. He is also facing charges linked to other recent crimes in Waterloo, including a March 5th robbery and fire at the popular Wishbone Restaurant and Bar, and the attempted robbery of an armored car outside a bank on March 11th, when one suspect was shot and killed. I'm Elwin Huffman, Radio Iowa, Waterloo.
The Fort Dodge Public Library has announced that they will be closed again this afternoon. Iowa Department of Education Director Dr. Ann Lebo announced Thursday that baseball and softball players from schools such as Eagle Grove and Belmont Clemmy, who are not fielding teams this summer, can play for any other school in the state. Players will be eligible as long as the program they choose accepts them. Players can play anywhere, but no program is required to take those players. The cost of transportation from the player's home to their new team will be fully on the player and their family. The student athletes who play at another program will be required to return to their original school after the summer. Both Belmont, Clemmy, and Eagle Grove school districts voted not to have baseball and softball this year. Belmont Clemmy was the first to make that announcement back in May, and Eagle Grove did so earlier this week after their board voted 3-2 not to play. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. The fabulous Janice Valentine is standing by. Let me give you the weather here real quick. Sunny with a high of 84 today. That's great. Overnight clear with a low of 61. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 84. On Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 90. I feel a golf game coming on. Monday, sunny with a high of 93. Tuesday, some rain, mainly in the afternoon, mostly cloudy with a high of 84. On Wednesday, a good chance of rain once again, sunny with a high of 76. And on Thursday, mostly sunny with a high of 76 degrees. Right now in town, ladies and gentlemen, it's 82 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine
the doctor of truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, that's right. After all this time, I think you can just call me Truth. I think we know each other that well. Janice, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm fine, Truth.
All right. All right. I think it flows. I'm getting T-shirts made. Anyway, Janice Valentine is an attorney here in town, practicing primarily in workers' compensation and personal injury. There is no fee for first consultation. Janice Valentine is at Valentine Law Office, PC. Janice Valentine, Valentine Law at valentinelaw.net. You may reach her by calling 515-955-5544 or at 415 the Boston Center, 809 Central Avenue, Fort Dodge, and at www.valentinelaw.net. Janice, it's really my intention, after listening to some of our conversations, which I always bring up the topic for, that I'm a little grim in my later years or something. I don't know. So I was trying to be lighthearted with you, especially from now on, because you actually have a sense of humor. And I found myself stumped again today. I mean, that video is in my head of George Floyd, which is one of the most repulsive things I've ever seen in my life.
Pretty haunting, isn't it?
It is. You know, I've only watched, and I said this yesterday, I've only watched it once from start to finish because that's all I need.
No, I can't. I look away if it is replayed on TV right now. I have to look away.
I assume that officer was a reasonable human being at some point in his life. I guess I don't understand him at all, how he could sit there expressionless, emotionless, while that man said he couldn't breathe and was clearly in deep distress before dying. And he kept his knee on his neck for over 2 minutes after the man apparently had passed. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'll tell you, Janice, I don't get burning down an Arby's as a political expression over the man's death. I'm a very confused person here today. Help me, Janice.
Well, and I missed that last part. You don't get, what was the last part you didn't get?
Well, I don't get burning down an Arby's over as a political expression in regard to his death.
Yeah. Well, you know, I guess I fall in the camp of I'm more for people than property. And
I
when
understand
I say that, I'm not in favor of looting. I think that there's what has been such a hopeful thing to me. I'm young enough. I really wasn't part of the Martin Luther King thing, but it's been heartwarming to me to see the youth that have been energized about this issue and willing to be peaceful about it. To me, those that are just out there, for lack of a better word, looters, they are not part of the protest. They are just opportunists that are looking to seize on the opportunity. But those that are protesting, it's heartwarming to see the messages and the sincerity which they bring to the table. And I hope, because we've seen this time and time again with some police brutality incidents. But I think this one is so compelling because there's no way anyone can justify what happened in that video.
I know. I saw the Eric Garner video a few years ago. I mean, the guy had him in a chokehold, laying on top of him. I mean, no charges were filed, by the way, against the officer.
Yeah, and I think the police, the law enforcement community has really stepped behind this. I want to applaud both the protesters in the Fort Dodge protest from last Sunday, as well as our law enforcement officers, for how that was handled, because I think we showed Iowa how it can be done. I was not a part of it because I'm still kind of social distancing, but I thought it was very well done to the point of letting people voice their strong opinions, yet it was not, windows weren't being shattered, those types of things. I just applaud how things were done. And a lot of that goes to our law enforcement for handling it the way they did and saying, hey, we're with you. We're not on opposite sides on this. What happened was horrible and reprehensible and should not have happened.
Well, one of the most inspirational videos out of all of this chaos has been one shot here in Fort Dodge when the police when the
Lord's
police
Prayer.
when the police kneeled with the protesters and said the Lord's Prayer. That was moving.
And keep in mind, that was before we saw some of the other cities where they were kneeling with the protesters. I mean, that wasn't a cookie-cutter thing where our law enforcement folks said, hey, let's do that. I mean, I don't know if there's been a memo that went out or something, but what I'm saying is what I saw was original, and I loved it. And I thought it was so powerful that, and the Lord's Prayer just, like, was the kicker to it all, of course. But I just think we've reached a point in time where we need to open up more dialogue to be educated, and because I live my life as a white person, and it's very different than living life as a black person.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yes, without a doubt. And we need to be respectful of that. That doesn't mean one is better or worse. I guess that could be debated, of course, but I guess what I'm saying is we have different experiences that we need to share with one another and listen. And hopefully that's been the message that has come out of so much of this, is the opportunity to listen with real open ears, not just You know, there's different methods of listening, and we need to be sincere in our listening.
I think so too. We also need to forge a common moral code, for lack of a better term. In other words, these things are out of bounds. I think it would go a long way, as a white man living in mostly white Iowa, and mostly rural white Iowa for most of my life. I would like to see a statement condemning the property damage. I mean, there was senseless property damage. I mean, there was a march in Des Moines the other night where some people brought spray paint cans with them and were running around spray painting cars all over the street. I mean, what is that? I mean,
well, and I think we've heard that from George Floyd's family, saying, "Stop this! This is not honoring him. Don't do that." So, you know, I don't want to focus on the property, because what we need to focus on is the murder. Without the murder, we wouldn't have the property damage.
I don't think anybody's denying that there was a murder. I hope there isn't. I hope
so too. I really do. But you know, sometimes I look at my Facebook feed and I just go, ay. You know.
And I know you don't want to focus on property, and that's fine. But I'll tell you, burning Nordstroms makes you wonder about the type. At least in my circle of friends, makes us wonder about the type of people who are doing this, and if they're really sincere and really hurt by this horrible death. Or if it's something else.
Those people aren't even they're not even thinking about the death, in my opinion. And this is, of course, totally just my opinion. But those are the people that are just, again, the opportunists, that are just out there causing mayhem, because this is an excuse. I think the people that are sincere about what's going on are not looting, are not vandalizing. They're saying, listen to us, listen to our voices, listen to what we are saying. So I just can't put those two groups in the same camp. I don't see it that way, because I just can't. The folks that I know that are sincerely very troubled and disturbed, and keep in mind, this isn't the first. You know, this is just the last one. Let's hope we don't have a next one. But I think the actions that were taken by the chief of police in Minneapolis, as well as the mayor, really sent at least a swifter message. I'm not saying the best message, but at least it was faster than what we've seen in some situations in terms of putting these officers in the proper perspective. And I hope that resonates with other law enforcement departments, to the extent that they realize you can't do this. And I haven't seen the details. Was it in Chicago this last week where 3 teenagers were pulled out of a car and tased, or tased within their car, or something like that?
Probably.
You know,
there have been reports like that.
law enforcement gets the message that there are consequences. And, you know, I just briefly saw some of the proposals that are being made in terms of if you get fired for something like this, you don't get ever rehired. That's a real consequence, and perhaps the right one, because it kind of sounds like this guy involved with the George Floyd case had a history of previous complaints, not just one.
Right.
It sounds to me like there were a number of complaints, and that's very troubling because maybe, I'm not saying take the livelihood away from this person if he's a good desk cop, for example. I mean, somebody has to sit at the desk.
Right.
But this guy should not be interacting in the public with that kind of a history.
Shouldn't be on the force as far as I'm concerned. George Floyd, by the way, was no prize. He had a prison record, several visits to prison, but he certainly didn't deserve anything like this.
Again, Mike, we can say that that's white people talking about let's justify. And I'm not saying you're doing that,
I'm not justifying that terrible murder. Period.
Let's not focus. I mean, this was a forgery. This is a $20 bill where if you and I passed one on, for all we know, unknowingly, because like I don't do the marker on all my bills that I have.
Right.
You know, the two $20 bills that I have in my wallet. But no, I don't do a marker on those, so I could pass one, and I have to believe without a shadow of a doubt that I would not be handcuffed following passing a $20 bill.
If you are, let me know. That would.
I will. Will. You will be the first one I call.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Our guest is local attorney Janice Valentine. Mike Sexton. I just talked with Mike Sexton. He and Ann Meyer. They're down in Des Moines, of course. The session has resumed, and he's telling me that there is going to be, and I'm going to talk to the lawyer in you now. There is going to be, he believes, a bill to protect businesses in the time of COVID from lawsuits. Further, there is an amendment to that bill to protect packing plants from invasion or intrusion by animal rights activists filming in the facility. So I thought that there was an attempt a couple of years ago in Iowa to make videotaping in packing plants illegal. It was passed, but then it was overturned by the courts. So this must be yet another attempt to protect Iowa Select and others from animal rights activists. Mm-hmm. So your feeling on these 2 points are what?
Well, I'm opposed to pretty much every immunity because our standard is reasonableness. You can't just march forward. If you acted reasonably, you're okay. All right. So let's start with that framework. That's the base point of any case is, did the other side act reasonably in light of the circumstances? And so if it was reasonable to allow everybody to just show up for work as usual and just be within inches of each other, if a jury finds that reasonable, guess what? You lose. You know, that's the way that works. But to me, businesses should be held accountable for acting unreasonably. And by that, I mean, I think we had people on those packing lines that were exposed. And I know of specific instances where, here's a specific. A person gets hurt. This is not in our area, by the way, but a person gets hurt and needs physical therapy, and the plant insists on her coming to the plant for her physical therapy, despite there being widespread outbreak, and she's caretaking for immunocompromised parents, and she has 4 children at home. And she says, I will do your physical therapy, but could I please do it outside of the plant? And they're refusing, or they did refuse. They got ordered to provide it eventually. But it's those types of things where, to me, that's not reasonable. I mean, we can't be intentionally exposing people to risks that otherwise could be avoided. And when I say that, I get that we needed people in those packing plants processing meat because
Yes,
we
sir.
need meat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, we do.
So I am not dismissing that. But what I am saying is, those plants also profited off of those people risking their life.
Well, I want to take this up with you at another time, but we're running out of time right now. And there's a couple of things I want to bring up to you. First of all, Steve King is going to be gone here shortly. What is your reaction?
Well, I think J.D. Schulten's job just got a lot harder.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I would put it that way. And Steve got what he had coming based on his comments that he made. And so I think he made the bed, and now he lies in it. And I'm sure, is very comfortable with that because it seems to be the way he is, which, again, I don't know him, but he seems to be very comfortable with saying what he says and defending it. So that's how that plays out. Randy, I don't know him. And he does not know, as far as I know, doesn't know me. But my concern with him is actually Bob Vanderplaat, his extreme support of him. First of all, Bob has never won anything in his life. And second of all, he's pretty extreme. So I don't know that Randy is really all that much different than Steve. I guess that's to be figured out. But,
I've met Randy several times. I like him. But anybody who thinks he's, more liberal than Steve King has got another thing coming.
Oh, yeah. I think
now.
you're right, because I was surprised that he went with, or maybe he didn't agree to it. Maybe Bob just did it on his own. But if I'm Randy, I would not have wanted Bob Vanderplaat campaigning for me.
Well, you have to remember that Randy's up there in Vanderplaat's country. That's where he came from. And that section up around Orange City in there in northwest Iowa, wow. You and I are flaky liberals compared to those folks, I'll tell you.
Yeah, we are radical.
We're radical liberal types, according to those folks up there. I mean, Orange City is a beautiful little town, and the people there are attractive and polite. But boy, are they conservative! Whoa! I mean, they live the Bible as a living truth. I think Cranbrook is from Paulina. Paulina is not nearly as bad as that.
It's close. Well, I think I've shared this before, but I lived in Sanborn for a summer, and my neighbor, when I was washing my car on a Sunday, came out and asked me to observe the Sabbath. And I said I would be happy to do that if he would wash my car on Monday.
Yeah, really. I mean, in other words, shut up and get off my property, you idiot. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't say that. But
I know you didn't.
I had observed I had been to church that morning, and then I was washing my car. And, it's a very different area. No doubt about it.
I guess, people don't say that to me. It must be my general attitude or my demeanor or something that that guy's not going to listen to me. And they're probably right. Anyway, we finish on a high note here today. President Trump said earlier today that he believes George Floyd is looking down on him from heaven with approval because the stock market jumped 700 points today.
For God's sake.
And the job numbers
are up. He did not really say that.
He did say it. I love this guy. I want him around forever. He's the greatest thing since Bill Clinton for talk radio hosts. I mean, he's even better. George Floyd.
I haven't caught the news, but he really said that?
That's right. He's really said that. He believes George Floyd is looking down on him from above in great approval because the job numbers are up and the stock market's up today.
I'm just going to say just wow. I don't know what I'm going to say.
I was waiting to see if you could bring it.
I can't even begin. No. No. He is just so delusional.
Well, he really does believe he can stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot a pistol and still be elected.
I don't doubt that. At this point, I wish he would and see what happens. I mean, I don't want to be the person on Fifth Avenue, and I apologize to that person, but let's do it. Let's see what happens. And I would like to see how that pans out. And then that will tell us a whole lot.
I just saved that one for last, Janice.
Yeah, well, that's a stunner to me. I'm still just kind of reeling here in my head, just trying to... I can hear his words. I can hear him saying this. And I'm sure there was a lot of great and wonderful and
fabulous
whatever.
And all that stuff. Janice, thank you so much.
Hey, Mike, always a pleasure, and have a great and safe weekend.
I will. Thank you very much. Janice Valentine's been our guest. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Capital One knows life doesn't alert you about your credit card.
Hey, couch surfers, we've got nonstop tunes to keep you rocking while you work. Oh, and Colleen, yes, you Colleen with a K. Your free trial of Movie Plus ends tomorrow, and your card may be charged. Do you want to continue or cancel?
So meet Eno, the Capital One assistant. Eno looks out for surprise charges, like when free trials expire, and helps if you need to fix them. Eno, another way Capital One is watching out for your money when you're not. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Limitations apply.
This is a call for all farmers to come to the aid of their beans. Liberty herbicide can now be applied on your Enlist E3 soybeans. Superior weed control, greater application flexibility, no known resistance in U.S. row crops. Liberty herbicide battles tough weeds so your beans can live free and grow healthy. Talk to your BASF rep to learn more. Always read and follow label directions. Liberty is a registered trademark of BASF, and Enlist E3 is a trademark of Dow AgroSciences.
In a world where the open road is everyone's terrain,
Hey, Randy, everybody's here. Let's go.
a special group of people are asking one question.
Hey, do you think they see us?
Coming soon to a mirror near you. Motorcycles. Looking twice could save a life. Share the road with motorcycles. Presented by the Iowa Department of Public Safety, Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Thanks for listening. Fox News coming up. This is KVFD in Fort Dodge, Iowa.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
A relief rally on Wall Street. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The jobs report for May showing surprise gains. 2.5 million jobs created as businesses started to bring workers back. That sent the Dow soaring back over 27K and prompted a White House news conference.
One of the reasons we're in this position is because we had such a strong foundation.
President Trump considers it the start of a great American comeback, though for now, unemployment remains high at 13.3%. Joe Biden criticizing the president's coronavirus response.
The president did not act quickly when he was warned to act, when he was spoken, and even his own team talked about him acting.
Also accusing the president again of stoking racial tensions, while the president pledges to focus on renewal and recovery for all communities. The U.S. Army Secretary just announcing that the crew of a National Guard helicopter involved in an apparent show of force flying low over D.C. Monday night has been grounded pending a Pentagon investigation. Also confirming that military police recently staged near D.C. are being sent home. A unanimous vote by the Minneapolis City Council to ban chokeholds by police, part of a new agreement between the city and state. They've been negotiating since a civil rights investigation was launched by the state this week after George Floyd's death in police custody. The agreement also requires officers to intervene and report it if they see other officers using improper force. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo urging state lawmakers to pass reforms as soon as next week.
Stopping police abuse vindicates the overwhelming majority, 99.9% of the police, who are there to do the right thing and do the right thing every day.
Cuomo unveiling a Say Their Name reform agenda that also includes banning chokeholds and calls for transparency of officers' prior disciplinary records. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Some public agencies are cutting ties with police, starting in Minnesota.
The Minneapolis School Board voted this week to cut ties with the police department, so they'll no longer be providing on-campus school resource officers. The superintendent now has to come up with a new safety plan by mid-August. The Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board followed suit, deciding park police will no longer help Minneapolis police with nonviolent calls, and they'll stop using them to staff park events. The University of Minnesota is also no longer contracting with the city police department for support services, and now other cities are looking to do the same. Phoenix, Arizona Union High School District students are pressuring their board to end its contract with the police department for school resource officers.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Protesters have also called for defunding the police, which President Trump has derided as a radical left proposal, saying he wants more money for law enforcement. The president visiting Maine and just signing a proclamation to allow commercial fishing at a marine conservation area off the New England coast. Environmental groups call it a devastating move. The president says conservation is important, but that the ban was unfair to fishermen. An Oscar winner wearing some new hats lately reveals an unusual injury.
Actress Cate Blanchett has accidentally cut her head with a chainsaw while in lockdown. The Australian actress revealing the injury during a podcast interview with former Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard last week. Blanchett saying, quote, "I had a bit of a chainsaw accident yesterday, which sounds very, very exciting, but it wasn't." Adding, quote, "Besides the little nick to my head, I'm fine." Blanchett and her family had been on lockdown in Sussex, England.
Fox's Mike Gunzelman, the mother of 4, also picking up the role of teacher while everyone's been learning from home. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A protest is scheduled to take place at Storm Lake tonight in memory of George Floyd, the Minneapolis man who was killed at the hands of police. The protest is scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight, and Storm Lake Police Chief Chris Cole says that he has spoken with organizers of the protest and is hopeful that the protest will remain peaceful. Storm Lake's mayor expressed his concerns about large groups of people getting together because of the increase in COVID-19 cases around the Storm Lake area in Buena Vista County. The mayor did say that safety measures to decrease the chance of spread of the virus will be in place and that the organizers of the protest are aware of needed social distancing. Sadie Trueblood and Stacy Kraft from the Webster County Public Health Department were guests on Dodger Weekly on KVFD-AM 1400. During their appearance, they talked about various things related to the health department. Here's Stacy Kraft on how it's been the last couple of months to deal with COVID-19.
It's been a little crazy, but Webster County residents and really Iowans in general have been great to work with and following the governor's mandates. Never in my nursing career has this ever obviously happened, so it's been a good learning experience too.
Another recent happening with the Webster County Public Health Department is the change in location for their family planning clinic. Sadie Trueblood explains the move.
So we had been at our previous location for a couple of years, and we found an opportunity to move a little bit closer to our main office at 310 2nd Avenue South. And we opened officially here at the beginning of the month.
Sadie went on to say that even with the pandemic going on, they are seeing patients at their family planning clinic.
So we're seeing patients. Obviously, we screen a little bit differently now with COVID in the community. So these are all medically necessary appointments. Anything that we can put off, we are, just until things start to calm down a little bit. So when somebody calls to schedule an appointment, we do some pre-screening questions. But yeah, we are taking appointments. We do a full day on Wednesdays for scheduling and then half a day on Friday.
To schedule an appointment or for more information, call 515-573-4107. Authorities have arrested a man on multiple charges connected to the February 4th fire that heavily damaged a Waterloo bowling alley. Radio Iowa's Elwin Huffman has more.
Officials believe 29-year-old Kevin Cruz Salaveras was one of several people who forced their way into Maple Lane's bowling center and set the fire after stealing money from vending machines, video games, and an ATM. Police say an overnight maintenance worker was also robbed of his wallet. Cruz is charged with first-degree arson, second-degree robbery, and second-degree burglary. He is also facing charges linked to other recent crimes in Waterloo, including a March 5th robbery and fire at the popular Wishbone Restaurant and Bar, and the attempted robbery of an armored car outside a bank on March 11th, when one suspect was shot and killed. I'm Elwin Huffman, Radio Iowa, Waterloo.
The Fort Dodge Public Library has announced that they will be closed again this afternoon. Iowa Department of Education Director Dr. Ann Lebo announced Thursday that baseball and softball players from schools such as Eagle Grove and Belmont-Clemmy, who are not fielding teams this summer, can play for any other school in the state. Players will be eligible as long as the program they choose accepts them. Players can play anywhere, but no program is required to take those players. The cost of transportation from the player's home to their new team will be fully on the player and their family. The student athletes who play at another program will be required to return to their original school after the summer. Both Belmont-Clemmy and Eagle Grove school districts voted not to have baseball and softball this year. Belmont-Clemmy was the first to make that announcement back in May, and Eagle Grove did so earlier this week after their board voted 3-2 not to play. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD Weatherology forecast. Clear skies this afternoon with a high of 84. North winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 61. Tonight, mainly clear skies. A blend of clouds and sun. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 84. Warmer Sunday and Monday with highs from the upper 80s to the low 90s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 83.
Blue Ribbon, Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Do you have questions about your water? What is a whole home filter? Is my softener working or not? Can I get rid of that red stain around the sink? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. We're here to fix problem water. We'll work with you to find the right solution for you. We've been serving the Fort Dodge area since 1949. Let us serve your water treatment needs. Sales, service, rentals. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, your complete water store.
White or wheat, classic or old-fashioned, with or without sesame seeds. With so many choices, selecting the right bun for your super-duper top-secret recipe hand-crafted home-grilled burger can seem overwhelming. But relax, the bakers at Village Hearth have made it easy. As long as you see the familiar Village Hearth logo on your package, your grilling cookout's bound to be a huge success. Unless that is your unwanted relatives show up, then there's no bun on earth that can save it. Village Hearth Buns, baking our best for you.
Now that the weather's heating up, the backyard is in play. And Lowe's can help you create memories at home all summer long. Enjoy dinner al fresco with the new Pelham Bay 7-piece patio set, now starting at just $219. What's for dinner? Burgers, of course, on the new grill. Enjoy free local delivery when you buy a grill $398 or more. Summer is open. Download our app and discover what's possible at Lowe's. While supplies last, applies to standard delivery in U.S. only. Purchase special calculated before taxes. After applicable discounts, if any. More fees may apply. Selections vary by market. See Lowe's.com for details.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
On this edition of the Iowa Business Report,
interns who convert to full-time generally have long relationships with an organization, so it really does have a benefit on several levels.
The start of summer means future employees starting internships. How has that changed in the wake of COVID-19? The Iowa General Assembly gavels back into session on Wednesday, drafting a new fiscal year budget based on uncertain revenues. And we'll learn about a Cedar Rapids-based business that has rising expectations. This is the Iowa Business Report for the final weekend of May 2020.
The Iowa Business Report is presented with support from the Iowa Association of Business and Industry. The Iowa Association of Business and Industry has been the voice of Iowa business since 1903. Learn more online at iowaabi.org. Here is Jeff Stein.
Many businesses select their new employees from the ranks of past interns, students who have spent time working in the company during the summer or the academic year. Then came the spring global pandemic, which upset everyone's plans. Now that businesses are reopening to a larger degree each and every week, how are those planned internships impacted? Kathy Wieland is Director of Career Services for the Ivy College of Business at Iowa State University.
Students who engage in really any form of experiential learning, call it whatever you will, internship, practicum, externship, job shadow, really any kind of experiential learning. We have data that supports that it helps them to transition from Iowa State in both higher order roles, better paying roles, as well as more quickly. So that internship or experiential learning experience really paves the road for them in terms of how readily they transition. It's very critical.
So many fields now require that internship or that job experience. How has the pandemic affected your ability to work with your students, work with the businesses that obviously are excellent partners, in order to still have the educational outcome that you intend?
We've been so fortunate and so pleased by the response of many of the employers of Iowa State interns, because they were able to very quickly pivot and be able to engage most of our interns virtually. So we were impressed with their responsiveness. For the most part, many of the internships held, and companies just changed their orientation to how they were working with the students, and it's gone very well.
This struck literally in the middle of a semester, and so you already had people on site. They already knew the site supervisor, et cetera, and the companies themselves were in a whole new world of working from home, working remotely, transitioning. How do you anticipate things working out this summer when the student may not have the experience with that individual employer? It's got to be a little more challenging because, again, probably easier to finish something up that was started as opposed to start an entirely new relationship as the business now is evolving yet again to a new stage.
I think the onboarding process was probably one of the biggest challenges for companies and organizations that were hosting interns. I think they're very concerned about doing that well, because you know how important it is to onboard new talent in a really positive way. I saw a lot of unique things online in terms of, them having a staggered drive-in just to pick up equipment, and companies really innovating to be able to be successful with the new interns. And again, it really impressed me. It's difficult for companies that weren't able to retain interns, and I know they felt badly about that, but it was neat to see what companies did to really push the edge of how you onboard people successfully.
Did you find that there were some, to your point, who had to say, we love having Iowa State students, that's how we grow our talent as full-time employees, but we just can't do it now because we can't offer them the type of experience or we don't have the time to invest? Did you find that a lot?
We did. Initially, we were very concerned about the number of internship programs and internships that would be canceled. That has resolved itself by and large now at this point. And it looks like from the Ivy College perspective that we lost about 5% of what we expect for an overall internship year. The companies in financial services and professional services and tech and transportation and, the industries that have been doing really pretty well during this time, they were able to hold by and large. But there were some, especially organizations where, the work involved hands-on in a facility that just didn't feel like they could make that turn. And we understood that.
5% does not sound like a lot to me given the scope of the situation. That really either shows that businesses understand the importance of this career development or that they really value the overall relationship and were going to make sure they could honor their agreements. 5% seems a very pleasantly surprising low number to me.
I felt the same way about it myself. I think it's a combination of things, as you suggest, but the investment that they've already made to be able to be successful in making the hires of this fresh college talent, the future opportunities that they need to have the students prepared in their pipeline, commitment and honor and words like that are ones we use here at Iowa State, as you know. And I heard that from our companies and organizations that they want to honor their word just as much as we expect students to honor their word. So, yeah, it was actually, it was a pleasant surprise.
Talk, if you will, about why it is so important, not just for the student in having the ability to connect the classroom learning to the real world, but also the stories you hear from employers who find it just absolutely necessary as they try to perpetuate their business, their industry, because they take their profession very seriously.
Sure. So, I talked about the investment of making hires, but this investment of kind of taking a trial period or a test run or a test drive or whatever you want to call it through the internship to determine the fit for organizations. I think many firms have really discovered that that's a huge cost savings because they can very quickly in 3 short months determine whether there's a future with the individual and vice versa. So as you know, turnover is expensive for companies. Loss of talent is not good for their organization in several ways. So interns kind of solve that issue because the interns who convert to full-time generally have long relationships with an organization. So I think they've learned that it really does have a benefit on several levels. We still have good students that are available. As I mentioned, I did have a number of students that had internships rescinded. We've had several of those report getting new internships. But if anybody out there has opportunity in their organization for good Iowa State talent, we're ready for you. So career services people such as myself are working to try to find new opportunities and new positions for Iowa State students.
And that's true whether or not we have a different work environment. You're always looking for businesses that may not realize the importance of this connection. You want to be introduced to them so you can then introduce them to their next employee.
Exactly. And the interns, I generally always have 2 to 3 working with our staff, and they always exceed our expectations. They're so bright and they're so interested, and I can hardly think of a time when it hasn't been really positive for our organization. So I think companies that are thinking, maybe we should try that. We've got this project we really need to get done or what have you. Yep, we'd like to hear from you.
Kathy Whelan, Director of Career Services for the Ivy College of Business at Iowa State University. We spoke on Thursday afternoon via Zoom. And that last point is important. Colleges and universities typically have students seeking additional experiential learning opportunities. So a business owner might find it beneficial to make that connection with area colleges. Still to come, crafting a state budget just days before the new fiscal year begins, and a company with a century-old name but a fairly recent Iowa history. You're listening to the Iowa Business Report.
The Iowa Business Report is a copyrighted production of Totally Iowa Media, which is solely responsible for its content. For more, click on the radio programs button at totallyiowa.com.
As Iowa and other states began to shut down in order to flatten the coronavirus curve, the Iowa legislature temporarily adjourned. Now, after about 10 weeks, the session is scheduled to resume on June 3rd, with a new fiscal year beginning less than a month after that. Iowa Speaker of the House Pat Grassley is a New Hartford Republican. We spoke recently about what he expects when lawmakers return to Des Moines.
We'll be working on the 21 budget when we come back. I think you're going to see a change in revenue. I'd be surprised if there wouldn't be. It's difficult for me to make any predictions. What I can say, we would like to fulfill the commitments that we've made. You know, that's obviously has to try to be kind of your starting point. We aren't bound to have to spend the exact amount the revenue estimating conference gives us. We could make adjustments within there and try to decide based on what we think we need, if there needs to be an additional cushion. There's a lot of uncertainty, the same way there's uncertainty with trying to figure out how we come back to session and what protocols and safety measures need to have in place. There's just a lot of moving parts and no playbook for the situation we find ourselves in. That's why we've budgeted in a manner in which we would have ourselves with full cash reserve, economic emergency fund full, leaving ourselves with a couple $100 million ending balance. Again, this is a pretty unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in as far as what the potential impact on revenue could be, but at least we're not going into that situation being maxed out on all fronts.
You have a wonderful legislative chamber, but it's elbow to elbow in there. What steps are you taking to make sure that you all can operate safely when you return on June 3rd?
Yeah, and I think the Senator Whitford, the majority leader in the Senate, and I have probably spent as much time working on that as we have policy and budget things, trying to figure out what that will look like to provide some assurances, not only for legislators, but the staff that work in that building as well as the public. So I think you're going to see some modifications. For example, we're going to reserve one of the galleries for members that would like any sort of accommodations to make sure that there's additional space between members. We're not going to have our clerks and pages back on the floor. It will be a very different session than anything we've really ever seen before. Much more trying to lay out in advance what caucus time will look like and what committee meetings and when they will happen, to make sure we don't have every member in the building when they don't need to be.
Speaker of the Iowa House, Representative Pat Grassley of New Hartford. Up next, a heritage product finds new life and a new home in Iowa. You're listening to the Iowa Business Report.
The Iowa Business Report is presented with support from the Iowa Association of Business and Industry, helping develop the next generation of business leaders through Leadership Iowa and Leadership Iowa University. To learn more, go to iowaabi.org.
For this week's Business Profile segment, we're going to talk about a product that many of us remember being in the kitchen cupboard when we were growing up. Its history dates back to the 1880s, but it's only been made here in Iowa for a decade and a half. Elena Decker is area sales manager for the Lasoff Company, makers of Red Star yeast in Cedar Rapids.
Red Star yeast actually started in 1882, so about 138 years ago. In 2001, the Lasoff Group, which is a privately owned family company and the world's leader in the science of yeast, actually acquired Red Star yeast from Sensient Technologies. Shortly after that, Lasoff entered into a joint venture with ADM to create what we now know as Red Star Yeast Company. Together, they opened up the Cedar Rapids, Iowa facility in 2006. So many people know us obviously from the baking industry in regards to being a yeast producer, but we actually make several other ingredients that are utilized for baking. In addition, we make products for animal and human nutrition, for the ethanol industry, and also culinary flavors such as yeast extracts used for flavorings in snacks. Overall, Red Star is in some way or another actually linked to 40% of the U.S. bread supply. So especially now during the crisis, we are considered an essential business. And so we want to make sure that we're able to do our part to meet the food supply requirements.
So this is obviously a name that is very well known, that has gone through a number of changes, and it has evolved over the course of time. What was it about Cedar Rapids that made it attractive for the company to put down roots and reestablish that name here?
So it was very important for Red Star when they were looking to build the new facility to have a central location and a close proximity to our joint venture partner, ADM. So Iowa is a very good location because of our ability to produce and ship coast to coast in the US and also into Canada. And then of course there is the ADM facility located in Cedar Rapids that, as our joint venture partner, is able to supply us with corn syrup, which we use to grow the yeast.
Obviously, centrally located helps, but what is there also perhaps about the climate in the state of Iowa in terms of workforce, in terms of affordability? Because obviously you could go somewhere in Missouri and be just about as centrally located. So what is it about Iowa, in addition to the connection directly with ADM, that makes this a good place for this business to literally grow?
As I'm sure you know, Cedar Rapids is a factory town. And so there is excellent community support and local government support for food manufacturing. The workforce environment in Iowa is very favorable to meet our needs. And I may be biased being from the area, but Iowa Nice is a real thing. And so the people are great, and you have a very strong work ethic that comes with that.
There are some challenges, I suppose, because, again, you're not in a major metropolitan area. What are some of the things that you have to deal with in trying to get the product where it needs to be that potentially, if you were in a place like a St. Louis or a Kansas City, might not be front of mind?
One thing that comes to mind as a challenge would be, the economy in Iowa is very strong. So sometimes available workforce can be difficult to secure, as expansions occur and growth occurs. So ongoing work with local officials to kind of bring qualified employees to the area to support those job functions is something that we're always working towards.
That is not uncommon that we hear the number one challenge is developing a good workforce. Has it hampered your ability to meet your full potential as a company? The fact that you can put a help wanted sign in the window, at least prior to the pandemic, and you just couldn't find enough people?
We were actually fortunate that in December of last year, Red Star was actually voted to be the #1 best place to work out of the top 15 factories located in Cedar Rapids. That was based on employee ratings on Indeed.com. So, it's important that the community and our employees believe that it's a good place to work and can help refer their friends or family members to come work for us.
You've mentioned that the Cedar Rapids area has this tradition with regard to manufacturing, with regard to food preparation. What is it about the company that you work for that uniquely places you, that places Red Star in this, if you will, history that goes back so long within Cedar Rapids? Your historic company within now this historic channel of Cedar Rapids in eastern Iowa.
Since the addition of the Red Star facility to the Cedar Rapids area in 2006, the company's made additional investments with the addition of a yeast extract facility in 2010, a pilot lab in 2016, and the last addition of a blending facility in 2018. So we've definitely expanded the site, and we feel that we're, a big site, but small enough that everybody knows each other, and there are still opportunities on site for growth.
Obviously, you've made investments in terms of infrastructure. You've got hundreds of people that work there, so this is not a small undertaking, but you're also connected in the community, and I know during the recent pandemic, the company has taken some steps to really show that it wants to live there. Talk about some of the ways that you've been involved in the community in light of the pandemic.
Yeah, our hearts go out to everyone who's been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and we continue to look for ways to support our community and those in need. We made several donations throughout the pandemic, including donations of bread and cash totaling $100,000 for food pantries in the U.S., more specifically in the Cedar Rapids area, the Lynn County Food Bank. In addition, we've been able to donate 1,095 masks to Mercy Medical Center and St. Luke's Hospital in Cedar Rapids, along with safety glasses for Hiawatha Care Center and Good Neighbor Society, and nitrile gloves for Lantern Park Care and Rehabilitation Center in Cedar Rapids.
Why is that important for your company to make these kinds of donations or make these kinds of connections? Because you do this during the full year, not just during a pandemic, but why is this important from a philosophical standpoint for the company?
It's important for us to support the community and for us to give back at all times, but especially during the current crisis.
This is a question that's born out of my ignorance, but it seems to me that the product that you make, from a consumer standpoint, requires people to do a lot of baking and work in the kitchen and this sort of thing. Are we at a point in time, because so many people are running here and there and they get processed pre-made food and takeout and everything, is this, and I don't mean to use the pun, but I will, is this a growth industry? Is this a good time for the product that you folks produce? Is business good, in other words?
Early indications that we see are that Americans will consume a similar or slightly higher amount of bread or baked goods than before the crisis. We're just seeing that it's from different sources. So much more purchases from grocery stores and people utilizing home baking, and much less from restaurants and food service outlets from stadiums and hotels. So we're definitely seeing an increase in home bakers, which is great. And we hope that continues, after people get a taste for, baking in their home, they continue that even after the pandemic is over.
Elena Decker, area sales manager with the Red Star Yeast production plant in Cedar Rapids, part of the Lasoff group of companies. And that brings us to the close of this week's program. We're back again next week at this same time. In the meantime, you can listen to all or part of today's program by going to totallyiowa.com and clicking on the radio programs link. You'll find podcasts of this program, previous week's programs, and full interviews with many of the people you hear on this program. Those are listed as IBR Extras. And you'll find us on all the major podcast distributors, including iHeart, Google, and Apple. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of the programming. We welcome your comments. Send them by email to radio@totallyiowa.com. I'm Jeff Stein. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a prosperous week.
The Iowa Business Report is presented with support from the Iowa Association of Business and Industry. Follow ABI on Twitter at IowaABI and online at iowaabi.org.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
It's 3:35. The news is next.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent, like Prudential and Mutual of Omaha, and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-589-5599. That's 800-589-5599. 800-589-5599. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A protest is scheduled to take place at Storm Lake tonight in memory of George Floyd, the Minneapolis man who was killed at the hands of police. The protest is scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight, and Storm Lake Police Chief Chris Cole says that he has spoken with organizers of the protest and is hopeful that the protest will remain peaceful. Storm Lake's mayor expressed his concerns about large groups of people getting together because of the increase in COVID-19 cases around the Storm Lake area in Buena Vista County. The mayor did say that safety measures to decrease the chance of spread of the virus will be in place, and that the organizers of the protest are aware of needed social distancing. Sadie Trueblood and Stacy Kraft from the Webster County Public Health Department were guests on Dodger Weekly on KVFD-AM 1400. During their appearance, they talked about various things related to the health department. Here's Stacy Kraft on how it's been the last couple of months to deal with COVID-19.
It's been a little crazy, but Webster County residents and really Iowans in general have been great to work with and following the governor's mandates. Never in my nursing career has this ever obviously happened, so it's been a good learning experience too.
Another recent happening with the Webster County Public Health Department is the change in location for their family planning clinic. Sadie Trueblood explains the move.
So we had been at our previous location for a couple of years, and we found an opportunity to move a little bit closer to our main office at 310 2nd Avenue South, and we opened officially here at the beginning of the month.
Sadie went on to say that even with the pandemic going on, they are seeing patients at their family planning clinic.
So we're seeing patients. Obviously, we screen a little bit differently now with COVID in the community. So these are all medically necessary appointments. Anything that we can put off, we are just until things start to calm down a little bit. So when somebody calls to schedule an appointment, we do some pre-screening questions. But yeah, we are taking appointments. We do a full day on Wednesdays for scheduling and then half a day on Friday.
To schedule an appointment or for more information, call 515-573-4107. Authorities have arrested a man on multiple charges connected to the February 4th fire that heavily damaged a Waterloo bowling alley. Radio Iowa's Elwin Huffman has more.
Officials believe 29-year-old Kevin Cruz Salaveras was one of several people who forced their way into Maple Lane's bowling center and set the fire after stealing money from vending machines, video games, and an ATM. Police say an overnight maintenance worker was also robbed of his wallet. Cruz is charged with first-degree arson, second-degree robbery, and second-degree burglary. He's also facing charges linked to other recent crimes in Waterloo, including a March 5th robbery and fire at the popular Wishbone Restaurant and Bar, and the attempted robbery of an armored car outside a bank on March 11th, when one suspect was shot and killed. I'm Elwin Huffman, Radio Iowa, Waterloo.
The Fort Dodge Public Library has announced that they will be closed again this afternoon. Iowa Department of Education Director Dr. Ann Lebo announced Thursday that baseball and softball players from schools such as Eagle Grove and Belmont-Clemmy, who are not fielding teams this summer, can play for any other school in the state. Players will be eligible as long as the program they choose accepts them. Players can play anywhere, but no program is required to take those players. The cost of transportation from the player's home to their new team will be fully on the player and their family. The student athletes who play at another program will be required to return to their original school after the summer. Both Belmont-Clemmy and Eagle Grove school districts voted not to have baseball and softball this year. Belmont-Clemmy was the first to make that announcement back in May, and Eagle Grove did so earlier this week after their board voted 3-2 not to play. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 3:40. First of all, in the weather. Sunny today, a high of 84. Right now it's 83. Overnight mostly clear with a low of 61. Tomorrow, increasing cloudiness with a high of 84. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 92. On Monday, it'll be sunny with a high of 95. Tuesday, chance of rain and a thunderstorm. Probably in the afternoon, mostly cloudy with a high of 84. Wednesday, sunny with a high of 77. Thursday, sunny with a high of 75. Right now in town, again, 83 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Well, one of our longtime friends, Steve Springer, has died. I think Steve was buddies with just about anybody who met him. Steve passed away earlier this week. There will be a visitation tomorrow from 9 to noon at Timber Creek Hall at the Lizard Creek Ranch. Private service at 2 p.m. It will be live streamed by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services. Larry Strayer has died at the age of 84. His service is at 1:30 tomorrow at St. Paul Lutheran Church. Visitation from 5 to 7 today at Gunderson's. There will be a live stream from St. Paul Lutheran Church, of course. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 342 at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 83 degrees. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn up 2 1/4 at 331 1/4. September up 2 1/4 at 335 1/2. December up 2 1/2 cents at 345 1/4. March up 2 at 357. July soybeans unchanged at 867 3/4. August up 1 1/4 at 870. September up 1 1/2 at 871 3/4. November up 2 3/4 at 879 1/2. July wheat down 8 1/2 at 515 1/4. Soybean meal down 70 cents a ton at 289.10. June live cattle down 182 at 93.90. August down 175 at 96.17. August feeder cattle down 55 cents at 134.17. September down 102 at 135.47. June lean hogs down 97 cents at 47.45, and July up 35 cents at 53.92. I'm Dwayne Murley.
The pandemic has caused some strange things to happen in the food industry, and it's confusing to us consumers. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. For example, there are limits on meat purchases, near-empty meat cases, or no fresh meat at the store. Pork and poultry farmers having to euthanize animals, milk dumping, fresh produce rotting in the fields, having to be plowed under. Well, Roxy Beck, who's the Consumer Engagement Director for the Center for Food Integrity, says a good analogy for what's happening is gardening.
If all goes well, the product becomes perfectly ripe and you can, literally enjoy the fruits of your labor. But sometimes something disrupts that. Maybe it's insects. Maybe it is timing. You go on vacation, you can't get to that produce, at the right time. That produce can spoil on the vine.
Beck says while there are so many differences in growing plants from raising animals, the basics are the same. She says the most important thing for consumers to know is that we do not have a shortage of food in this country.
We have a phenomenal amount of storage space and capacity available, both on the fruits and vegetables, the plant side, as well as the meat and poultry side. So those highly perishable products are, in any given month, we have a huge amount of capacity in the United States.
I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Kids are full of energy, but keeping them active in their teen years can be a challenge. Aim for an hour of physical activity every day. If they like sports, that's a great place to start. Keep the focus on fun, not winning, and encourage your child to do a variety of activities. If your child isn't meeting that 60-minute goal, gradually increase their activity in ways they enjoy. For more, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org. Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. If you own firearms, it's your responsibility to make sure they're always stored safely. Hiding them in a closet or drawer is not enough. Kids know where they are. Research shows the risk of injury and death is lower if guns are stored unloaded and locked up, with the ammunition locked in a separate place. This is important when children are young, as well as when they grow into teenagers. For more, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy Young with the Rewards Beyond Rebates Radio Roadshow on Brownfield, a content partnership with BASF. Rewards Beyond Rebates is an agronomics first program, allowing growers to choose the right agronomic solutions specifically for their farms. Melanie Burke, Innovation Specialist with BASF, tells Brownfield this initiative offers multi-year benefits for growers. We'll have more after this.
You pledged your life to serve. You made sacrifices, lost loved ones. At VA, we don't see the falls you've taken. We see the 1,000 times you've stood back up. We embrace your uniqueness and won't trivialize your hardships. We can't promise to heal all wounds or wash away all trauma, but we do see a path forward. We see all veterans, we see you. Learn how treatment works and recovery is possible. Visit maketheconnection.net.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nia Hurd-Garris with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. As parents, we want our children to grow up healthy and strong. That means helping teens take responsibility for their health as they become young adults. One way to do that is to make sure they have one-on-one time with their pediatrician. That helps them become comfortable talking about any health issue with their doctors and with you. So make sure to give your teen a voice. It's good for their health. For more on teen health, visit healthychildren.org.
Knowing that long-term success far exceeds short-term rewards, BASF remains focused on providing the right agronomic solution for the highest yield potential. BASF provides growers with the flexibility to choose the best agronomic solution for their acres. The BASF approach to making input decisions is not based on rebates, but rather on agronomic decisions that will support growers with ways to maximize the return on investment in their fields. It's a grower-focused approach that offers both flexibility and rewards. Melanie Burke, Innovation Specialist with BASF, joins us today. How has Rewards Beyond Rebates helped you talk with growers about rebates and inputs differently than you have in the past?
So, rebates are eye-catching, and they're something that farmers love to ask questions about because they're intrigued by it. But when we really get into what BASF is good at, we really focus on what we do well, and that's control weeds. And with, so much university data supporting the success of our products, it's pretty easy to talk through controlling weeds and then turning that into economics. If you can have a 2.5 or 5 bushel advantage if they were using a different residual program or a different program altogether, and turn that into dollars, the rebates really become a non-issue.
So, Melanie, how have growers responded to Rewards Beyond Rebates?
I go back to that growers just really want their products to work, and they want simplicity. And when you have to put a calculator in front of somebody to really determine where their economics are going to be or what their payback might be, that's when things get a little bit confusing. So, just really focusing on the things that we can control, and that's keeping things simple and having great success with the products we use.
To learn more, growers should talk with their local BASF representative or go to rewardsbeyondrebates.com. I'm Cindy Young with the Rewards Beyond Rebates Radio Roadshow on Brownfield, a content partnership with BASF.
I'm Dr. Zach Nace from Active Health Clinics. I'd like to thank all our patients who continue to support us through these unsure times. For those who couldn't make it in, we are anxious to see you and get you back feeling your best again. We hope you've missed us as much as we've missed you. Just a reminder, Active Health will be extending our $25 special for new patient first day visits. With everyone in the community supporting small businesses, our community will regain our momentum. It's up to all of us. We look forward to seeing everyone soon. Active Health Clinics, Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
The Iowa Business Report is presented with support from the Iowa Association of Business and Industry. The Iowa Association of Business and Industry has been the voice of Iowa business since 1903. Learn more online at iowaabi.org. Here is Jeff Stein.
Night one of Leadership Iowa.
Leadership Iowa is a well-established program that connects business and community together, has had to adapt to a virtual year-long set of experiences. The reopening of business across the country has already led to reduced unemployment rates. This year's Leadership Iowa class has experienced a very different curriculum. Jessie McQuarrie is Director of Programs for the Iowa Association of Business and Industry Foundation.
Leadership Iowa has been a statewide issues awareness program, an opportunity for Iowa leaders from across the state to come together and learn about all of the different issues impacting Iowa and Iowans. We select 40 individuals every year for the program, and bring them to 8 different communities throughout the year to discuss different issues and meet with community leaders, statewide leaders, to discuss all of these important topics, from agriculture and renewable energy to healthcare to education and government and economic development. So they really get to take a deep dive into what's going on in our state and what's important. And they get to make some really valuable connections, some great friendships. And this program, as you said, has a legacy in Iowa. We've been around for over 37 years. This is our 38th year, coming up on 39 very quickly. And we're just excited, and we're excited to keep going and have a new group with us soon.
It really has created, over the course of 4 decades, a very unique networking opportunity for individuals to truly unify different aspects of the state.
Absolutely. We have more than 1,200 Leadership Iowa alums, and they are spread across the state and beyond. So we are just really fortunate to have this really strong and powerful network. In times like these, that is key and important, and they've really come together as well. So we're very fortunate to have some excellent leaders and who have gone on to take what they've learned in Leadership Iowa back to their communities, made some really cool connections or collaborative efforts, even with their other class members or other Leadership Iowa alums. So we're again fortunate to have the support of a lot of great people across the state.
We have said that leaders have to adapt to changing situations, and this is the firsthand example of that. Obviously, you've not been able to visit all 8 communities or have a graduation ceremony. How has the program evolved and adapted in the age of COVID-19?
Well, like everyone else is doing today, we've made the pivot to maintain and continue our work in what's really become this completely virtual space and virtual environment. With Leadership Iowa, we quickly turned the corner here in April to have our first virtual Leadership Iowa session, and it happened to be on the topic of economic development, which was really at the epicenter of a lot of things happening at that time. So again, we had some really great alums, we had some great session planners. We are doing so again next week. We've got our final session on healthcare, which is, again, another very timely topic and a big industry to be talking about right now. And we're learning and adapting along with everyone else, as leaders should do.
The next year's class has not been selected because you can still apply for it. Talk, if you will, Jesse, about the application process, what it is that you look for as you assemble the class, because it's not first come, first serve. You're trying to blend a very unique, disparate group of people into what becomes a collective whole. So talk about the process, if you would, along with the deadlines.
Yes, we are currently in our application period for Leadership Iowa 2021, which started on May 15th and will run through June 15th. So applications are due Monday, June 15th by midnight. So we'll get a lot of emails and questions and excitement coming through, which is always good to see, especially given the time and what we're all working through right now. We're excited to see that we still have plenty of applications coming in. Every year we have several more applicants than what we can select in the class. Narrowing it down to the 40 individuals who ultimately participate is not an easy process. So we have a fantastic selection committee who is comprised of Leadership Iowa alumni from all across the state who are passionate about the program and are interested and invested in the individuals who are selected to participate. And really what they're looking for with those applications, we do have essay questions that we ask on there that help us to really gain more insight into the applicant and into the individual, more than just their title or their background or what industry they're working in. We want to know what their leadership potential is and their interest in being involved in leadership, especially in their community, because we want to know that these individuals are really going to make the most of the Leadership Iowa experience and are hoping to make that change back in their communities. So we're looking for leadership potential. We're looking for diversity is a big part of the selection process. For us, that means diverse opinions and backgrounds, industries, locations in Iowa. So all of the ideas that could go into that. We want the best mix and, as you mentioned, blend of a group of Iowans to come together. And it ends up being kind of a small think tank every year. So we want those diverse opinions and ideas and perspectives to come to these discussions and to come to these sessions and get what they can out of it.
I suppose in a perfect situation, when you have the first meeting, you have 40 people in a room and no one knows anybody in the room. In other words, you have 40 total strangers. The only commonality will be that they're participating in this program. And again, by the end of the 1-year period, they have built relationships that they could not possibly have achieved otherwise.
Absolutely. That is ideal, that they come in and they feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's a level playing field for when you come to Leadership Iowa. A lot of these individuals may come in and they're used to having to be the only voice or the main voice in the room or the expert in the room. Well, now they're coming in and they're in a group of 39 other experts, 39 other leaders who are also expected to have those same qualities and characteristics, whether it's in their workplace or within their community. So it levels that playing field out, and it's just amazing to see the bonds and the friendships and the connections that form even after night 1 of Leadership Iowa.
Jesse McQuarrie is Director of Programs for the Iowa Association of Business and Industry Foundation. We spoke via Zoom this past Thursday morning. Again, the deadline to apply to be a part of the 2021 Leadership Iowa class is Monday, June 15th. More information is online at iowaabi.org. Click on the ABI Foundation tab at the top of the page. You can hear our full conversation by listening to the special IBR Extra podcast. Find it at iTunes, Google, or Apple Podcasts, or by going to totallyiowa.com and clicking on the radio programs link. Still to come, unemployment is high, but improving, and using technology to prevent health issues in the workplace. You're listening to the Iowa Business Report.
It's 3:59. The news is next. Then we'll have Nevin Mulholland and Randy Kuhlman, and we'll talk sports right here at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in North Central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Renewed hope for recovery. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The Dow up 829 points, closing back over 27K for the first time since early March. After a surprise in the May employment report, jobs gained instead of lost as businesses started to reopen. President Trump says it may be the start of the greatest American comeback ever.
Next year will be the greatest year, I think, economically speaking, in history for our country. Only one thing can stop it. Somebody like Sleepy Joe Biden.
The presumptive Democratic nominee holding his own event on the economy.
The fact is that about 13 million fewer jobs today for American workers than the day President Obama and I left office.
He calls the president's pandemic response disastrous and says he's deeply worried. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi crediting Congress with the May jobs report and urging the Senate to take up more coronavirus relief. Today, the president signing the recently passed amendments aimed at making a popular small business loan program easier to use. And he thanked Democrats while calling their relationship disastrous. A vote for change by the Minneapolis City Council after talks between the city and state. Fox's Jeff Manasso.
Minneapolis agrees to ban all chokeholds by police and require bystanding officers to stop them. It also limits crowd controls in the wake of George Floyd's death and charges against 4 Minneapolis police officers.
Mr. Floyd's death is just one instance of unthinkable violence against Black men. Our community, especially communities of color, has a deep mistrust of law enforcement, given the actions of Minneapolis police officers over decades.
City Council President, Democrat Lisa Bender, as the council also considers disbanding the entire police department.
Supporters of that idea say sweeping change is needed. They want to replace the police department with a different public safety organization, which may need court approval. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
A show of support for protesters from the mayor of Washington, D.C., where the atmosphere right now is a sharp contrast to the violence that left an historic church on fire earlier this week.
Mayor Bowser came here to unveil this new Black Lives Matter Plaza sign, the new name for 16th and H Street outside the White House in Lafayette Square. Because it's been so peaceful, Mayor Muriel Bowser wants all soldiers to go home. Our colleague Jennifer Griffin is reporting all 900 remaining active duty troops outside D.C. have been ordered home, but over 5,000 National Guard troops remain in D.C., and some don't have a place to stay. Utah Senator Mike Lee expressed outrage over Guard members from his state being evicted from a D.C. hotel.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. The mayor has said there's a hotel billing issue that the Army should resolve. Today, the phrase Black Lives Matter was painted in giant yellow letters on the road leading up to the White House. 2 Buffalo police officers under investigation after a viral video of a 75-year-old protester being shoved to the ground and injured.
What we saw last night in front of City Hall is not acceptable here. It is not acceptable anywhere.
Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz says a united effort is needed to support both peaceful protesters and members of law enforcement who honor their pledge to protect the public. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says the 2 Buffalo cops should be fired. For now, they're suspended. Cuomo also unveiling a police reform agenda that, among other things, calls for banning chokeholds. Texas Governor Greg Abbott urging residents to prepare for Tropical Storm Cristobal.
We don't know right now what may be needed. The time to get ready for a very quick evacuation would be right now.
Forecasters aren't sure yet where Cristobal is going. It could hit central Louisiana Sunday. After dumping heavy rain on Mexico, the system regaining tropical storm status today. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A protest is scheduled to take place at Storm Lake tonight in memory of George Floyd, the Minneapolis man who was killed at the hands of police. The protest is scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight, and Storm Lake Police Chief Chris Cole says that he has spoken with organizers of the protest and is hopeful that the protest will remain peaceful. Storm Lake's mayor expressed his concerns about large groups of people getting together because of the increase in COVID-19 cases around the Storm Lake area in Buena Vista County. The mayor did say that safety measures to decrease the chance of spread of the virus will be in place, and that the organizers of the protest are aware of needed social distancing. Sadie Trueblood and Stacy Kraft from the Webster County Public Health Department were guests on Dodger Weekly on KVFD-AM 1400. During their appearance, they talked about various things related to the health department. Here's Stacy Kraft on how it's been the last couple of months to deal with COVID-19.
It's been a little crazy, but Webster County residents and really Iowans in general have been great to work with and following the governor's mandates. Never in my nursing career has this ever obviously happened, so it's been a good learning experience too.
Another recent happening with the Webster County Public Health Department is the change in location for their family planning clinic. Sadie Trueblood explains the move.
So we had been at our previous location for a couple of years, and we found an opportunity to move a little bit closer to our main office at 310 2nd Avenue South. And we opened officially here at the beginning of the month.
Sadie went on to say that even with the pandemic going on, they are seeing patients at their family planning clinic.
So we're seeing patients. Obviously, we screen a little bit differently now with COVID in the community. So these are all medically necessary appointments. Anything that we can put off, we are, just until things start to calm down a little bit. So when somebody calls to schedule an appointment, we do some pre-screening questions. But yeah, we are taking appointments. We do a full day on Wednesdays for scheduling and then half a day on Friday.
To schedule an appointment or for more information, call 515-573-4107. Authorities have arrested a man on multiple charges connected to the February 4th fire that heavily damaged a Waterloo bowling alley. Radio Iowa's Elwin Huffman has more.
Officials believe 29-year-old Kevin Cruz Salaveras was one of several people who forced their way into Maple Lane's bowling center and set the fire after stealing money from vending machines, video games, and an ATM. Police say an overnight maintenance worker was also robbed of his wallet. Cruz is charged with first-degree arson, second-degree robbery, and second-degree burglary. He is also facing charges linked to other recent crimes in Waterloo, including a March 5th robbery and fire at the popular Wishbone Restaurant and Bar, and the attempted robbery of an armored car outside a bank on March 11th, when one suspect was shot and killed. I'm Elwin Huffman, Radio Iowa.
Summer can play for any other school in the state. Players will be eligible as long as the program they choose accepts them. Players can play anywhere, but no program is required to take those players. The cost of transportation from the player's home to their new team will be fully on the player and their family. The student athletes who play at another program will be required to return to their original school after the summer. Both Belmont, Clemmy, and Eagle Grove school districts voted not to have baseball and softball this year. Belmont Clemmy was the first to make that announcement back in May, and Eagle Grove did so earlier this week after their board voted 3-2 not to play. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Clear skies this afternoon with a high of 84. North winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 61. Tonight, mainly clear skies. A blend of clouds and sun. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 84. Warmer Sunday and Monday with highs from the upper 80s to the low 90s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 83.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent, like Prudential and Mutual of Omaha, and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-589-5599. That's 800-589-5599. 800-589-5599. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
Well, if I'm not clever enough, I have Randy Kuhlman here with me today to talk sports. Hi, Randy.
Mike, how you doing?
Doing real good. I guess Nevin bailed on us again today, huh?
Yeah, I think he's trying to make a living, so.
He's got all the money in the world.
You know, Mike, you need to double our pay for doing this.
Okay, it's doubled. No. Yeah, Nevin just keeps right on going over there, so that's what he wants.
He's a busy man, yeah.
He's a busy man. You know, I wish I wasn't made to feel responsible for the actions of every dumb cop in Minneapolis. You know that? I mean, not only dumb but murderous police officer in Minneapolis. I didn't do it, Randy. I didn't. And
no, and it's really, of course, the event itself was very, very unfortunate. But the thing that really has made it unfortunate is, you know, the nation was really rallying around that whole incident and how bad it was, and you know, it could have been a great moment for our for our country to rally around the whole issue, and then it got hijacked by all the looters and thugs out there, and really took a spotlight off the actual problem. So that's unfortunate. But
that's unfortunate. I'm only bringing it up. Well, it's top of the mind with us all. I guess we can't get it off TV or out of the papers. The press just loves this stuff, of course. It gives them a narrative, we're good and they're bad type thing. But professional sports especially are dominated by African Americans. And they have made their feelings known. A lot of people have made their feelings known about the George Floyd incident. Now, I don't know what else professional sports can do. I mean, professional sports was the great integrator, as far as I'm concerned. That in the United States military. And if there is a business in the world that rewards talent and drive and ambition, it's professional sports without consideration to race or religion or a single thing. Professional sports has offered that venue to everyone. It just so happens that African Americans excel, especially in basketball and football, and I think Hispanics mainly are taking are in professional baseball now. But certainly, most professional sports are dominated by African Americans, and that should be the ultimate tribute to our country's emphasis on no matter who you are, you can make it here.
Yeah, and the other thing, to your point about, you know, it's a great unifier. It really is. You know, I used to coach at the college level, and for a number of years I coached a lot of different black athletes. They were great young men, and we had a lot of whites and we had a lot of blacks on our team, and we never had one problem with any kind of a white-black incident. Everybody, you know, they all became close friends, and are still friends today, you know, 30, 40 years later. I mean, it's a great unifier. And even with fans, you know, fans love to support their favorite athletes and on their favorite teams, and I think the fact that we haven't had those kind of sports going on that we can watch and attend, that's exacerbated the problem a little bit too, because you know, we've all been separated, you know, and we all go back to our own neighborhoods, and we're not interacting as much as we used to, and that's not a good thing. So
no, not at all. No, this shutdown over the COVID virus, I suppose it was necessary to flatten the curve. I'm glad to see things are opening up a little bit. I don't know what they're going to do in Major League Baseball. Have you heard? I read this morning that they're still fighting to see if they're going to have 50 or 82 games or whatever.
Yeah, things are kind of breaking down a little bit there, which has some people concerned that we may not even have a season. But so I don't know. I think they'll eventually come to terms, and I think it'll be a much shorter season, obviously, because originally one time they wanted 118 games or something, which is kind of ridiculous. By, you know, if you're going to start around the 4th of July, so I think they may end up settling on maybe a half a season and the playoffs. So I hope they can do that and get things rolling back halfway to normal. And the same with the NBA. The NBA is talking about starting a very short season, then going into the playoffs.
Right.
Starting in right around the 1st of August. So, obviously that's a very late start. Usually the NBA ends in the end of June, but so they're still wanting to play their playoffs basically. And it sounds like they may be playing them all in Florida.
Yeah, the NBA season seems to run all year long for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, but that would be nice. And if they're doing that, and you got Major League Baseball going on, National Football League going on, man, my goodness, we're going to compile all kinds of sports in a short period of time this late summer and early fall.
Well, I've watched a lot of old baseball games, old Major League Baseball games, the Twins and the Cardinals in the '87 series, and on and on and on. And even old fights. I was watching Muhammad Ali and Ken Norton this morning.
Wow.
Yeah. The first one, I think it was in 72 or 73. I think I was in the service out in California at the time. I remember watching the fight on our little color TV.
Yeah.
But, there's, to say, there's no new sports on, so you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
The football teams are getting together now on campuses for their summer workouts, and hopefully we can keep this virus under control and things will keep moving in the right direction so that they can start their season, right after Labor Day and get things rolling with that college football season.
Well, sports can be a huge emotional boost for the country as far as I'm concerned. You still have all these people running around shaking their finger in our face about staying inside and not going to work and doing. I think that's just crazy. The time for hearing that all the time without any other explanation is over. You either tell us what kind of progress you've made and what the end game looks like, or shut up, because we're going to go outside and play a little ball here, because we really need that sort of thing. I mean, this long shutdown has been hard on people. It just has.
No doubt.
We need a little sports.
No doubt, it's part of our culture. It's been a huge part of our culture for many, many years. And, I was doing a little study on history of Fort Dodge, Mike, and it was amazing to learn that in the early 1900s, Fort Dodge had a number of baseball teams, and they would have a game in Fort Dodge, and there'd be 3,000 fans there to watch a baseball game.
Oh, yeah.
And so even back 100, 150 years, or 120 years, sports played a huge role in the socialization process of people in the country, and it continues to grow today, and so hopefully we can get things moving in the right direction and get back to normal. And the problem, what will be interesting to see is when things pop up that are unexpected, how are the teams, how are the leagues going to handle it?
Yeah.
What happens if a football team all of a sudden has 10 or 12 athletes that have COVID? Do they have to cancel the season? Do they cancel games? Those kind of decisions are probably still going to have to be dealt with and made as we go down the road for this season.
That's a tough one, that's for sure.
It is.
My old hometown of Algona in the early 20th century had a baseball team they called the Algona Brownies. And they called them the Algona Brownies because they were all black players. Now, I'm sure Algona in those years was the whitest town ever. And when I was a kid, there was only one black family in town. But some well-known African-American baseball players who went in to star in the old Negro leagues, like Mike Moore, Willis Johnson, Dangerfield Talbert. There's a name I should use on the radio, Dangerfield Talbert. They all played for the Algona Brownies, and when I was a kid, the older residents remembered. Those folks are long gone now, but it was an independent league. Some people put together. It didn't make it, but they played Webster City, and Webster City had a team, and Des Moines had a team, and the ball players would live with families. The families would take them in, and they might have part-time jobs. I think it lasted 3 years, and the people in town really liked them, and the ball players seemed to like the town, and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But the Independent League, it's local history, 1902 to 1905 or something. They played something like that. But very interesting. I would have loved to have seen the old Independent League. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
We had that. We had a professional or a minor league team that played out at Patterson Field here just in this last year or two. They had Australian players, I think, or New Zealand players.
Yeah, that's right. They had a 6 or 8 team league, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of college baseball players.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I don't, well, obviously they're not doing it this year, but I remember years ago when I was in college, I actually umpired semi-pro teams from around the Midwest. Humboldt had a team called the Humboldt Red Caps, and Fort Dodge had a team, and there was Slater had a team, and there were teams from all over the place back then. Mostly made up of college athletes that were, played college baseball, or and sometimes there were even other athletes. I remember one team Humboldt played. One of their best players was a safety on the Iowa State football team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And back in those days, that was 40 years ago or more. But back in those days, college football, you had the summer off.
Sure.
They didn't have the summer training programs like they had now. So you went home and got a summer job, or you did whatever, and then you showed up about mid-August for fall camp.
I suppose. I wonder if we're going to even get into a football season this year. That's the thing that bothers me. But as you've pointed out, what are you going to do if a player gets COVID or some doggone thing? And you're right, we could have all 3 major sports being played at once, baseball, basketball. I wonder what's going to happen with college sports. I mean, college basketball.
Well, of course, I'm optimistic that by that time we'll have, unless we have a second wave or something, things will continue to improve, and we'll learn how to deal with this COVID, and who knows what our amazing scientists are going to come up with in a very short period of time. But I certainly hope we have both football and basketball, and it may be different. You're going to be in stadiums that won't be full, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely.
And so it'll be different that way. But I'm still optimistic that they'll have it. Quite honestly, these college athletic departments, boy, if they don't have college football this year, I don't know how they survive. Because, first of all, I don't know what percentage of them, probably only half of them are making money now. I mean, they're barely making their expenses. You pull out that TV contract and no ticket sales. Wow.
Yeah, that TV contract is solid gold to the professional sports. I mean,
and college too.
In college too. That's why I have faith that Major League Baseball and the Players Association will work something out. They don't want to. They don't want to make the networks mad. I'll tell you, or ESPN, either one. There's a lot of money a lot of television money that nobody wants to lose. They want to salvage as much as they can.
Right.
So I'm pretty confident we're going to have some sort of baseball season. I don't know what it's going to look like in the stands, or we're going to have to watch it on Zoom or whatever. But
it'll be, and then professional golf is going to get started next weekend with no spectators, but they're going to have a tournament. So they're going to start, and every week there'll be a PGA's tournament for the rest of the year. And I think they're talking about hoping to be able to have spectators by September. But all through the summer, they're going to be holding these professional golf tournaments without spectators. So that'll be interesting, too.
Boy, that takes something away from the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
Just takes something away from the game.
I heard Joe Buck say that if they do have Major League Baseball, that the TVs will structure the cameras and do all that so that, number one, you won't see empty seats, or they might even pump in crowd noise on the TV at least, so that the experience of watching the game won't be different than if there were really people in the crowd. That'll be interesting to see how that works.
Well, I hope they do that, actually.
Yeah.
I hope they do that. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We're still not back in the same studio here. Randy and Nevin always used to come into the studio and be live with me, but that's not happening here and hasn't happened for a while, and that's unfortunate. I don't know how much longer we're going to do this, but I guess as long as the company says that we're still with certain restrictions, I guess that's what we're going to have to do.
You bet.
Anyway, how are you doing at work anyway, Randy? Are you through the COVID thing?
Well, we've never shut down. We all have our own offices, so we can social distance in our area, and we've been very, very busy. So we haven't shut down at all.
Okay.
And we've been fortunate that we haven't had to. If I was trying to work from home, I'd go crazy, and my wife would probably have killed me by now. So
I heard that, buddy. Randy Kuhlman is our guest. Randy, come on back after the news, will you?
Will do, Mike.
All right, thank you. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, the news is coming up.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
I'm Phil Gunderson. Gunderson's has a tradition of providing services unmatched in our community. Funeral, cremation, and pre-planning services with certified celebrants on staff, aftercare, video, and customized printed goods that are the standard. We offer live streaming options and community support with remembrance and educational programs. When it's time to look for a funeral home, look to Gunderson's.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A protest is scheduled to take place at Storm Lake tonight in memory of George Floyd, the Minneapolis man who was killed at the hands of police. The protest is scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight, and Storm Lake Police Chief Chris Cole says that he has spoken with organizers of the protest and is hopeful that the protest will remain peaceful. Storm Lake's mayor expressed his concerns about large groups of people getting together because of the increase in COVID-19 cases around the Storm Lake area in Buena Vista County. The mayor did say that safety measures to decrease the chance of spread of the virus will be in place and that the organizers of the protest are aware of needed social distancing. Sadie Trueblood and Stacy Kraft from the Webster County Public Health Department were guests on Dodger Weekly on KVFD AM 1400. During their appearance, they talked about various things related to the health department. Here's Stacy Kraft on how it's been the last couple of months to deal with COVID-19.
It's been a little crazy, but Webster County residents and really Iowans in general have been great to work with and following the governor's mandates. Never in my nursing career has this ever obviously happened, so it's been a good learning experience too.
Another recent happening with the Webster County Public Health Department is the change in location for their family planning clinic. Sadie Trueblood explains the move.
So we had been at our previous location for a couple of years, and we found an opportunity to move a little bit closer to our main office at 310 2nd Avenue South. And we opened officially here at the beginning of the month.
Sadie went on to say that even with the pandemic going on, they are seeing patients at their family planning clinic.
So we're seeing Seeing patients, obviously we screen a little bit differently now with COVID in the community. So these are all medically necessary appointments. Anything that we can put off, we are, just until things start to calm down a little bit. So when somebody calls to schedule an appointment, we do some pre-screening questions. But yeah, we are taking appointments. We do a full day on Wednesdays for scheduling and then half a day on Friday.
To schedule an appointment or for more information, call 515-573-4107. Authorities have arrested a man on multiple charges connected to the February 4th fire that heavily damaged a Waterloo bowling alley. Radio Iowa's Elwin Huffman has more.
Officials believe 29-year-old Kevin Cruz Salaveras was one of several people who forced their way into Maple Lane's bowling center and set the fire after stealing money from vending machines, video games, and an ATM. Police say an overnight maintenance worker was also robbed of his wallet. Cruz is charged with first-degree arson, second-degree robbery, and second-degree burglary. He's also facing charges linked to other recent crimes in Waterloo, including a March 5th robbery and fire at the popular Wishbone Restaurant and Bar, and the attempted robbery of an armored car outside a bank on March 11th, when one suspect was shot and killed. I'm Elwin Huffman, Radio Iowa, Waterloo.
The Fort Dodge Public Library has announced that they will be closed again this afternoon. Iowa Department of Education Director Dr. Ann Lebo announced Thursday that baseball and softball players from schools such as Eagle Grove and Belmont-Clemmy, who are not fielding teams this summer, can play for any other school in the state. Players will be eligible as long as the program they choose accepts them. Players can play anywhere, but no program is required to take those players. The cost of transportation from the player's home to their new team will be fully on the player and their family. The student athletes who play at another program will be required to return to their original school after the summer. Both Belmont-Clemmy and Eagle Grove school districts voted not to have baseball and softball this year. Belmont-Clemmy was the first to make that announcement back in May, and Eagle Grove did so earlier this week after their board voted 3-2 not to play. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 4:33. We'll get back to Randy Kuhlman and sports here in just a couple of minutes. First of all, the weather, 83 degrees right now. It's going to be sunny today with a high of 84. Mostly clear overnight with a low of 61. Tomorrow, some clouds, high 84. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 92. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 95. Tuesday, chance of showers and thunderstorms. Then showers likely and possibly a thunderstorm after 1 p.m. Mostly cloudy with a high of 84 on Tuesday. Wednesday, sunny with a high of 77. And on Thursday, sunny with a high of 75. Once again, 83 degrees in Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Our friend Steve Springer, of course, the town's friend as far as I'm concerned. Steve Springer's visitation will be at 9 to noon tomorrow at Timber Creek Hall at the Lizard Creek Ranch. There's a private service 2 o'clock that you can live stream. That's for Steve Springer. Verna Anderson has died. Her funeral was today at 10:30. Verna Anderson was 90 years old. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 83 degrees at 4:35.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn up 2 1/4 at 3.31 1/4. September up 2 1/4 at 3.35 1/2. December up 2 1/2 cents at 3.45 1/4. March up 2 at 3.57. July soybeans unchanged at 8.67 3/4. August up 1 1/4 at 8.70. September up 1 1/2 at 8.71 3/4. November November up 2 3/4 at 8.79 1/2. July wheat down 8 1/2 at 5.15 1/4. Soybean meal down 70 cents a ton at 2.8910. June live cattle down 182 at 93.90. August down 175 at 96.17. August feeder cattle down 55 cents at 134.17. September down 102 at 135.47. June lean hogs down 97 cents at 47.45, and July up 35 cents at 53.92. I'm Dwayne Murley.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
On Wall Street, the major averages closing sharply higher, with the Dow reclaiming the 27,000 level and the Nasdaq touching an all-time intraday high. Investors cheering a surprisingly upbeat May jobs report that showed that the country added 2.5 million jobs and the unemployment rate declined to 13.3%, raising hopes that the economy is starting to recover from the coronavirus pandemic. The Dow rising 829 points, the Nasdaq up 198, S&P 500 up 82. And Apple shares closing at a record high as optimism rises for the fall launch of 5G iPhones. The tech giant is up close to 12% for the year and has rallied 46% since bottoming in March. And airline stocks continuing to take off, with American leading the charge. Its stock closing up around 11% today and running up over 75% for the week. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
You're more focused than ever on keeping your employees and customers safe. Cintas has the products and services you need to feel prepared. Our Cintas technicians can apply our disinfectant and sanitizer spray throughout your facility. Our Ultra Clean service for restrooms uses a sanitizer effective against certain germs, bacteria, and viruses. And we'll help you stay well stocked with hand sanitizer, face masks, and essential PPE. Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
How do you play Mega Millions?
I like to be the first person in line when the convenience store opens, which is hard to do if they're open 24/7, but I enter the store on my right foot, take exactly 7 steps to the counter, always 7, and take the ticket with my left hand. Then I high-five the cashier. Sometimes they leave me hanging.
However you play, play now.
This Friday's estimated Iowa Lottery Mega Millions jackpot is $378 million.
Woohoo!
Between pollen, pollution, and all the other nasty stuff in the air these days, isn't it time to make good nasal hygiene your new normal? Think about it. You wouldn't go a day without washing your hands or brushing your teeth, but what about your nose, the body's air filter? Cleaning your nose with nasal irrigation is clinically proven to relieve congestion caused by allergies and colds and flu without drugs. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nasal irrigator with powered suction. Navage is the easy-to-use alternative to neti pots, pills, and prescriptions. Navage cleans your nose naturally by flushing out allergens, mucus, bacteria, and worse. Here's my promise to you. Try Navage. If it doesn't relieve congestion and help you breathe better and feel healthier, just return it for a full, no-questions-asked refund. Over 1 million sold. Online at Navage.com or in stores at Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Make good nasal hygiene your new normal with Navage. Navage.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, we're talking sports here with Randy Kuhlman. Nevin is off somewhere doing some sort of mediation, which I never really knew what he was doing when he was doing that. I suppose it's over my head. But what does he do in mediation, Randy?
Well, it's kind of like he's the judge. You know,
he's sitting between two opposing parties. Is that what he's doing?
Yeah. Instead of going to court, you go to mediation, and Nevin's a trained and experienced mediator, and so he tries to bring the two parties together to come to a consensus on an agreement and resolve their conflict.
So Nevin is not the attorney of record for either party, then?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the independent arbitrator.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. So, kind of one step under a judge, huh?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he might be above a judge. I don't know. But
who knows?
But, there's a lot of arbitration these days, and it's usually a civil disputes. Not criminal, but.
Yeah, that's the only time I was ever a juror. I was asked to be a juror. Well, I wasn't asked. I was ordered to be a juror. So we all showed up. I had it on my calendar. I took time off work, the whole thing. We all showed up, and we sat there for an hour, and pretty soon the judge came in and said, well, thanks for your service, but the parties have reached an agreement. It was a civil suit, and we all went home.
Yeah.
Nothing to that.
Yeah, I've had the same thing happen, but that's kind of what way things are going in the legal world with civil suits. It's usually done, most of them are done through arbitration now rather than going to court.
Well, probably are neighborhood disputes and things like that. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, yeah, or no, they're bigger problems than that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And you can settle them that way.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just a lot. If you can come to a resolution, both sides can kind of come out on the winning side, and it's a lot less expensive, I would imagine.
Okay. Well, Drew Brees is in trouble. I don't know why he chose this particular moment to start talking about Colin Kaepernick's flag protest, which I vigorously oppose, by the way. I don't dispute for a second that he has a right to do it, but I have an equal right to be offended and say so. And Brees said that, and you'd have thought the world would have ended in professional football. Now, again, professional and I guess this is because I'm never going to understand completely the black person's experience in the United States, and I know that. And I wish I could have more insight, but I don't understand the need for kneeling during the national anthem and when the flag is being raised. It's insulting. It was intended to be insulting, and Drew Brees said words to that effect. Well, again, his teammates got all over him. Some stood up for him, but they didn't agree with him while standing up for him. But it's a political, emotional, cultural subject that is you're never going to win no matter what side you're on. So you're probably just better off to not say anything and just play football, And so it's one of those things, and I think that's why he kind of retracted his statement, because he didn't want it to become a big issue with his teammates and with other players in the NFL. I mean, if there's anybody who's a class act, it's Drew Brees. It's Drew Brees, yeah.
Yeah, there's no question.
He's been very involved in the New Orleans community since he joined the Saints.
He's donated millions of dollars to Katrina relief. He donated millions of dollars to COVID relief. He's a great role model, tremendous quarterback, father, husband, you name it. He's a great role model, and so it's one of those things that you ought to just forget about and let's move on.
Well, yeah, he could have used better timing. I'll have to say that.
Yeah, and I think he was speaking about his grandfather and father who served in the military.
Right. That is certainly an offensive post to people like me who have served in the military. Not an offensive post, but an offensive action.
Yeah, and it's just, and I'm glad the NFL has kind of moved away from making the athletes come out on the field and then do the national anthem. Let them stay in the locker room and we can do the national anthem, and then they can come out on the field. So hopefully we can get past that and get back to a more unifying situation.
Yeah, I guess underlying all of this is a fear that professional sports will start to be used for all kinds of protests and will distract from the game. I mean, Kaepernick and some of his people said at the time there, that they didn't want people enjoying the games exclusively if black people were in such agony. And I always thought that sounded a little strange coming from Kaepernick because he's worth millions of dollars. But what do I know?
And he was raised by white parents.
And he was raised by white parents, right? So.
He's a middle-class person. He wasn't raised in the hood.
No.
He's a middle-class. He was adopted by, I believe he was adopted by white parents and lived in a upper middle-class neighborhood.
Yeah, that's right. Again, some of the other Saints spoke up for Drew Brees, but a lot of them, I will never, as hard as I try, be able to understand the black experience in the United States. I don't.
Oh yeah, you can't unless you've lived it.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I'd like to get on a more optimistic topic.
Please do.
Yeah, Mike. Let's talk about, I came across something today that's kind of interesting. They, on ESPN, the internet site, they had the top 25 national recruiting classes for 2021 in football.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. Ohio State right now, it's early, you know, because actually I guess football classes can sign in I think it's October. But Ohio State's number 1. Tennessee is number 2. That's amazing. Clemson, 3. That's not surprising. How about this? Number 4 right now is North Carolina in football. USC, who had a terrible season this year. I mean, they made it into a bowl game at the Holiday Bowl and got beat by Iowa, but they had a upsetting, you know, a disappointing season. They're number 5. Florida 6. LSU 7. Michigan 8. Minnesota is ranked 9th right now.
Really?
So, yeah, so old PJ up there, he's out there beating the bushes and getting the job done.
I've been a little fearful of that guy since he took the job because he's going to start beating Ferentz, old slow motion. Yeah, I know I'm going to get you going on this here. Old slow-mo offense Ferentz, I'm afraid PJ is going to start beating him.
Yeah, well, he hasn't done it yet, so.
Not yet.
And then you've got, here's a surprising one. Number 11 is Maryland. Maryland has had a horrible, you know, football program.
Yeah.
They're ranked 11th, and then Notre Dame 14. Some of the big names: Notre Dame 14, Texas is 15, Iowa is 16, which Iowa's having a really good recruiting year. And Penn State is 17, Wisconsin 18, Auburn, a great football program, is 19th. Have you noticed I haven't even mentioned Alabama yet?
That's okay with me.
Yeah. Alabama is actually rated 22nd. Now, I know it's still early, but that's amazing. And how about this? Alabama's 23rd. Oklahoma's 22nd. So really kind of some unusual ratings here for the recruiting, college football recruiting. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why Alabama, who's normally either number 1 or number 2 every year, why they're 23rd this year. So
I'm not getting that either.
I'd love to see some of those powerhouse teams kind of drop off a little bit, so we don't always have the same 4 to 6 teams, you know, in the playoff. Unfortunately, Ohio State's still ranked number 1 at recruiting, but
anybody hear any Iowa teams in that list you got there?
Oh, well, Iowa's 16th. And
16th, really?
Yeah, just behind Texas. And it only goes to 25, so they don't stay where Iowa State's at. But interesting to see some unusual names in the top 25 there that normally aren't there. And conspicuously absent is Nebraska. They're not even listed in the top 25.
Really?
Yeah. So I find that interesting. And although the big surprise to me is Minnesota at number 9. Wow.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah.
That's very surprising.
Yeah. So just some interesting information out there. And the other thing I heard, I haven't seen. I heard it the other day that if Garza comes back to Iowa for basketball, Iowa's preseason ranked number 5 in the country.
Oh, really?
I can't remember the last time Iowa's been rated that high in decades. So we can hope and pray that good old Luka comes back to the Hawks. I don't know if you saw the article in Des Moines Register. I think it was yesterday or the day before about he's working out again 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
3 times a day. Just working his tail off to work on his game, his athleticism. He's got a phenomenal work ethic. His dad is working him to death. I think his dad's thinking he can get rich off of his son or something.
Yeah, there you go.
But and then, of course, the Cyclones have landed a couple of what looks to be like good transfers. One in particular, I think he was from Memphis, and he's going to be eligible right away. And he was a 4-star out of high school and highly sought after. So they've landed. I think he's an off guard, a 6'4" off guard. I think his last name was Lands, Lands.
Right.
But that's a big get for Steve Prohm in the Cyclone for Cyclone basketball. So that's always good news for the Cyclone fans. And you know what, Mike? We talk about college football, and hopefully we'll have a season. But I'll tell you what, the Cyclones, they've got almost everybody back. They're primed to have an outstanding year. So it would be horrible if we didn't have a football season, because they've got a lot of their best players returning, and they should be a really maybe I would imagine they'll be Matt Campbell's best team going into the season.
I hope so. Campbell deserves it. He's worked hard there. I am an admirer of Campbell. He's really tried to turn that program around. How should I say this? To get everybody believing in Iowa State football.
Yep.
I mean, he's recommended books to his team and his coaching staff about persevering and coming out on top. I mean, this guy's a thinker. He's thinking man's football.
Yeah.
And I hope he brings the Iowa State Cyclones up where they belong. I really do.
Yeah, they. I completely agree, and he's getting. Pollard is really investing in the program. They're building outstanding facilities, practice facilities, and what have you, so that they can, recruit well and I think one thing he does well is he's a good evaluator of talent. He's brought in some kids that really weren't that highly recruited. I think
right.
He's got that linebacker named Rose that wasn't a highly recruited linebacker out of Ohio. And he was going to go to Toledo or somewhere, and then he comes to Iowa State. And this kid is a stud. I mean, he's an outstanding linebacker. So they do a pretty good job of searching for talent, and even though they may not be a 4-star, they're finding some gems in the 3- and 2-star area that really step up and perform. Even Hakeem Butler, the big 6'6", outstanding wide receiver they had 2 years ago that was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. He wasn't even highly touted out of high school, and he turned out to be an all Big 12 wide receiver. So, and actually he didn't recruit him. I think Rhodes actually recruited Butler, but those are the kind of guys, and of course Iowa's program has been built on those kind of players. Walk-ons and 2-stars that really rise up, like Josie Jewell and others, and become All-Americans. So, Dallas Clark, et cetera.
Where did Jewell go again?
Josie Jewell is with the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos, right?
Yeah.
I wonder how he's doing with them.
He's playing. He's been hurt. He's gotten hurt. So last year, I think his playing time was limited because he got hurt during the season. But he was playing early on, and of course the 3 tight ends from Iowa that are all playing in the NFL. Kittle, of course, is considered either the best or second best tight end in the NFL, and then you've got Hawkinson and Fant, who is at Fant's with Denver. Hawkinson is with the Detroit Lions. They're outstanding, and then of course you got Wirfs this year going in the first round in the draft, and Epinesa as well. So the Hawks are putting people in the NFL, and that's helping their recruiting, I believe. So.
Oh yeah, they're actually, there's a lot of Hawks still in the FNL. Or the NFL. I wonder if Micah Hyde is still in the NFL.
Micah Hyde, he's with Buffalo.
Is he with Buffalo? Okay.
Yeah, and he landed a big contract. He was with the Packers for a number of years.
Yeah.
And he landed a big contract with Buffalo. He's making millions for the Buffalo Bills.
Good.
And had an outstanding outstanding year for Buffalo.
What position was he playing? Was he playing wide receiver?
Safety. No, he's safety.
Safety.
Yeah, he's safety. And
Okay.
he's had a great NFL. I suppose he's been in there now 8 or 9 years by now.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so there's been a lot of Hawks that have done well in the NFL and continue to get drafted. And when that happens, that opens your recruiting door a little bit wider. And they've landed some great tight end prospects because of the success that the Hawks have had at tight end.
Yeah, who was that guy that the Hawks had on their offensive line? He was a right offensive tackle, I think. He was 6'6", 300 pounds, and some of the so-called professionals said he would never make it in the NFL because his hands were too small to grab onto somebody. His name starts with a B. I can't remember.
That's Balaga.
Brian Balaga, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's been a great offensive tackle for the Green Bay Packers for a long time. He has been hurt a few times, but that's not unusual when you're slugging it out in a line like that.
Yep, and you know what? I think this year he's had a really good career with the Packers, but I think they didn't sign him. So I don't know where he's landed now because I don't think the Packers re-signed him this year.
That'd be interesting to find out. That, gosh, he must have played 10 years, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I don't know where he is at now, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, he had a pretty good contract a couple of times.
Too, so. And Mike Daniels. He's making a lot. He signed a $40 million contract a couple of years ago. He was a defensive lineman for the Hawks and then Green Bay, and now he got traded to maybe Detroit or somewhere. I can't remember, but he's no longer with Green Bay.
I found Balaga. He's with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Is he now?
Yeah,
okay.
He signed a 3-year contract with the Los Angeles Chargers last March. He's 31 years old, so the Chargers apparently believe he's got a little juice left in him. So and it's going to be hard for me to get used to saying Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, well, that's what they've been for the last year or two. But,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, but Balaga, I mean, you're talking 9, 10, 11, 12 years in the NFL. The average NFL career is less than 4 years.
Oh, he's been a stud. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So when you can last that long, you're gonna come away pretty well set for the rest of your life.
I wonder if we're going to have. When are we going to have the Las Vegas Raiders? Is that this year or?
That's a good question. I think it is. I think their stadium is going to be built, and the LA stadium, I think because of COVID, is not going to be finished. So I think the Chargers might even be playing in Las Vegas. I think they're looking for a place to play.
Is it the Chargers or Raiders going to Las Vegas? I thought it was the Raiders.
Raiders are going to Las Vegas.
Okay.
I think that stadium's done. So the Raiders will be in Vegas.
Okay.
But the Chargers' new stadium, which is an amazing stadium in L.A., hasn't been finished. So I think they've got to find a place to play.
All right. Randy Koolman's been our guest. We've been talking sports. Thank you so much, Randy.
All right, Mike. Have a good weekend.
All right. Take care. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thanks to Janice Valentine, Ann Meyer, Mike Sexton, and everybody else. So certainly Randy Koolman and everybody else has been on the show today. It was a great show. You're listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. News is next.
If you're a gearhead or not, you'll enjoy the Under the Hood Car Show every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
On the rebound, I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump taking a victory lap after this morning's jobs numbers were announced.
The U.S. economy added 2.5 million jobs. It was supposed to lose 9 million. They were slightly off. So instead of losing 9 million, in fact, when they read it, they thought there was a typo. When the numbers came out this morning at 8:30, they read it, they thought there was a typo. probably the greatest month we've ever had.
His likely opponent in November, former Vice President Joe Biden, is a little more cautious.
For those families, that's a sigh of relief. For all those of us, it reminds us that the resilience of the American people. To those Americans, I'm so proud of you. So happy for you and for your families.
But he says there are still millions of Americans who are struggling, and he says there are 13 million fewer jobs than when he and President Obama left office. Wall Street with a big rally on the news. The Dow gained 829 points, the NASDAQ plus 198, the S&P up 81. More than a week after the death of George Floyd, the Minneapolis City Council votes for change.
Minneapolis agrees to ban all chokeholds by police and require bystanding officers to stop them. It also limits crowd controls in the wake of George Floyd's death and charges against 4 Minneapolis police officers.
Mr. Floyd's death is just one instance of unthinkable violence against Black men. Our community, especially communities of color, has a deep mistrust of law enforcement, given the actions of Minneapolis police officers over decades.
City Council President, Democrat Lisa Bender, as the council also considers disbanding the entire police department. How that would work is still unknown. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says he will end state police training in the use of carotid restraints. America's listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. A protest is scheduled to take place at Storm Lake tonight in memory of George Floyd, the Minneapolis man who was killed at the hands of police. The protest is scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight, and Storm Lake Police Chief Chris Cole says that he has spoken with organizers of the protest and is hopeful that the protest will remain peaceful. Storm Lake's mayor expressed his concerns about large groups of people getting together because of the increase in COVID-19 cases around the Storm Lake area in Buena Vista County. The mayor did say that safety measures to decrease the chance of spread of the virus will be in place and that the organizers of the protest are aware of needed social distancing. Sadie Trueblood and Stacy Kraft from the Webster County Public Health Department were guests on Dodger Weekly on KVFD-AM 1400. During their appearance, they talked about various things related to the health department. Here's Stacy Kraft on how it's been the last couple of months to deal with COVID-19.
It's been a little crazy, but Webster County residents and really Iowans in general have been great to work with and following the governor's mandates. Never in my nursing career has this ever obviously happened, so it's been a good learning experience too.
Another recent happening with the Webster County Public Health Department is the change in location for their family planning clinic. Sadie Trueblood explains the move.
So we had been at our previous location for a couple of years, and we found an opportunity to move a little bit closer to our main office at 310 2nd Avenue South. And we opened officially here at the beginning of the month.
Sadie went on to say that even with the pandemic going on, they are seeing patients at their family planning clinic.
So we're seeing patients. Obviously, we screen a little bit differently now with COVID in the community. So these are all medically necessary appointments. Anything that we can put off, we are, just until things start to calm down a little bit. So when somebody calls to schedule an appointment, we do some pre-screening questions. But yeah, we are taking appointments. We do a full day on Wednesdays for scheduling and then half a day on Friday.
To schedule an appointment or for more information, call 515-573-4107. The Fort Dodge Public Library has announced that they will be closed again this afternoon. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Clear skies and quiet tonight with lows around 61. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Cloudy skies tomorrow, daytime highs.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. You jump in, we'll talk about your life, your money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. The phone number is 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Fort Collins, Colorado starts off this hour. Courtney is with us. Hey, Courtney, what's up?
Thank you so much for taking my call, Dave. First of all, we are in a little bit of a predicament. We were in the middle of baby step 1 when my husband was in a car accident that totaled a police vehicle that I had. So we're dealing with all that, and we know we now have to replace that vehicle. Our biggest issue is that my husband is pretty much a road warrior for work. So we put about 40 to 50,000 miles a year on a car with about 1,000 miles